seminary again, going through the legal processes of theology. Thank you so much. And to Ms. Shu, Elizabeth, you did an excellent job reminding us from whence this great United States of America have evolved. I want to spend the rest of my time, if you will, to kind of give you a background to how I got here and my belief system, how it had been molded to who I am today by the sheer grace of God. Let me make a personal declaration that at 18-year-old, I was on my way. I became what they call MOJAC, a movement for justice in Africa, and it's called MOJAC. I joined then, and I was on my way to England for school, and I met in our church, Bishop Frank Madison Reed Jr. came to church and heard me speak. I was a really radical young man, and he invited me to have lunch with him. And that lunch led me to get more involved and more committed to Richard Allen. Let me say a few things about Richard Allen. Those of you who are at the missions, who are here, that want to recognize, and you already know about Richard Allen, what we call the liberation for freedom, and also for what I would term today as the importance of religious liberty. Richard Allen was born, for those of you who was born on February 14, 1760 as a slave. Born as a slave. His parents were slaves. And he was so smart and was so articulate that he joined the Methodist Church. And in Baltimore, they then ordained him as a lay preacher. He came and joined St. George's Methodist Church in Philadelphia, where through his preaching, a lot of people, both black and white, joined the church. But they were not allowed to come to the chancellery to pray. So he and a bunch of 12 leaders decided this Sunday, we're going up front to pray, because they believe in Genesis 1, 26 through 28. God said, let us make man in our own image, in our own likeness. Let them have dominion. Then verse 27 says, and God created male and female, which means in the mind of God, male and female, different gender, but have the same intellectual capacity and ability to become leader anywhere in the world. I'm a living witness, because when I was elected, we had 28 candidates to be president in my country. And our ambassador at the time sent them to me to talk to me, because you couldn't believe how the West African young man from the village got elected in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. So I didn't interview them, I talked to all 28 of them, and one of them threatened me. He said, if you don't support this particular candidate, Liberia will be too small for you to live. Well, I went home, I couldn't sleep. I woke up 3 o'clock and wrote 13 things I was going to get Ellen Johnson salute to the executive mansion. And I called her and said, I believe you're going to win. She said, Bishop, it's not, I don't see it. I said, well, I got 13 things you want to read. She came and she read it, and the rest was history. Because I believe that a woman is just not only prettier than men, they are just as smart, and in most cases, they are smarter than us. And I came to testify that president did more for the tiny little West African nation, where many of the free slaves went through the American colonization society. I wanted to bring that up because it's in God's sight, male and female are just as intelligent, just as capable to carry forth God's plan. And so I want to kind of zero in on the topic, if I need a topic, the importance of religious liberty for all. And Corbett deal with the Constitution of Peace, so I'm going to skip that. And so, brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, ladies and gentlemen, academicians, esteemed guests, and fellow advocates for freedom, Amos 5:24 tells us, and one of the speaker, I think Corbett, mentioned it, but let justice roll like a rolling river, and righteousness like a rolling stream. I'm not only honored to be here today, but to discuss the fundamental right that has shaped the course of human history for religious liberty. From the ancient civilization of Egypt and Babylon to the modern democracies of today, the freedom to worship, to believe, and the practice of one's faith has been a cornerstone of free societies around the world. Freedom to worship, believe in God, and demonstrate you believe without intimidation has formed the bedrock for freedom in a democratic society. Religious liberty, and the concept of religious liberty dates far back to ancient times. In the 6th century BC, the Persian Empire, and under the rule of Cyrus the Great, allowed Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temples and the walls of Jerusalem, their nation. How God moved on King Cyrus to aid the Jews to be led by Nehemiah to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the broken walls and restore the worship of God and the equality of all mankind is still a miracle. This act of tolerance and respect for religious diversities has set a precedent for future civilizations. Similarly, in the Greek and the Roman Empire, same had been the case. And then we come to America, the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And I have to admit, I as a radical young man who was a member of the Movement for Justice in Africa, began to study Martin Luther King and Marcus Garvey, his braveness, their belief, and Richard Allen that all men are created equal, that nobody should be taught to be subservient to anybody, which goes back to the text that I started with. God created male and female and said, let them, verse 28, have dominion over the fowls of the air, over the